Welcome back to the BB podcast. It's been a while and I'm really happy to be back. I've been uploading shorts, but I haven't uploaded podcast episodes for a while, so I'm really excited to get right into it. And today we're going to be talking about the NBA offseason and the trades and signings that have been done and what I think of them. And I'm also going to be telling you my favorites, least favorites to win, as well as some teams that may shock you. Anyway, I'm really happy and excited, and let's get right into it. Now let's get right into the trades and moves that have happened over the offseason. We're starting with the big one that happened recently, the Damian Lillard trade. If you don't know about the Damian Lillard trade, the Bucks got Damian Lillard, the Trailblazers got DeAndre Ayton, and they also got Drew Holiday, which we'll be talking about in a minute. The Suns get Nurkic, Allen, Nazir Little, and Keon Johnson. Now, I think undoubtedly this is a move that's going to shake up the whole NBA season for the Blazers organization, Bucks, and really everyone involved in the NBA for so many reasons. But let's get into what I think about this trade. I think for the Milwaukee Bucks, this you can't go wrong. It's Damian Lillard, and this is like star power you really need, especially with an injury to Giannis or something in the playoffs. You really could use Damian Lillard, star power, and the way he can close out games is phenomenal. The Bucks have Giannis, of course, but I feel like they lacked someone who, in the end of the game, you can really go to make that three or make that game-winning shot. Especially if Giannis is struggling or getting doubled, as we've seen, or even triple teamed many times. So I believe this is a really good trade for the Bucks. The only downside is they did lose a few. Obviously, there's Drew Holiday, who's a really good defender, and now your guard play defensively isn't as good as it was before, and your depth has decreased a little bit. And already the Bucks don't have a lot of great depth. But if I had to give this trade a grade for the Bucks, I would say it's pretty solid. I'd probably give them like a B plus to an A minus. Again, Damian Lillard is going to change your team for years to come, and he's coming off such a great season. It's not like he's took like a big fall off anything. He has one of his best statistical seasons last year for the Blazers, and it's too bad he couldn't keep going because the Blazers ended up benching him for the last few weeks of the year because they wanted a better draft pick. At least that's what I believe, and it's really unfortunate because Damian Lillard could have shown even more how good he was. When it comes to the Suns, I think this is amazing for the Suns. The one thing the Suns were lacking is depth, and that was clear in the playoffs. Once their starters came out, they really didn't have anyone that could step up. And getting Nurkic, Allen, Nazir Little, and Keon Johnson really helps them on the bench, as they really need people on the bench, and they've needed people on the bench for the last few years. And let's be honest, DeAndre Ayton clearly didn't want to be there. He didn't like Monty Williams. He wanted to get out of Phoenix when he accepted that contract from the Pacers. Then the Suns did match it. It was like $30 million. But he clearly wanted out, so a player that didn't really want to be there, and you get a good amount of value for him back. Nurkic is aging, obviously, but he's still a good quality center, and then you get that bench depth, which I think is really, really, really helpful. So, yeah, Nurkic and that bench depth is really, really helpful, and that's going to help a lot. Now, when we go to the Blazers, the Suns grade, sorry, I would give the Suns probably like an A minus to an A because I really think that bench help is going to help a lot. I don't know if I accidentally said it with the Suns, but the Blazers get DeAndre Ayton and Drew Holiday. We're going to discuss the Drew Holiday trade in a minute. I don't know if I said that the Suns got DeAndre Ayton, which they didn't. I meant the Blazers. I'm not sure if I said that or not, but the Trailblazers' the big move was DeAndre Ayton and Drew Holiday. As I said, Drew Holiday, we'll talk in a minute, but DeAndre Ayton on the Trailblazers, I like. As a young player, he has time to improve. He was like the number one overall pick, which again doesn't really mean much if you're not talented or don't turn out to be much in the NBA. But I can't really see how that goes wrong. And the Blazers are just trying to build a young roster and rebuild, which I get. So I'd probably give them like a B plus as well. Nothing crazy, but they're just moving in the direction that they want to move in, and I respect it. I think it's the way you have to go anyway. You try to compete with Dame, and if you're not going to put pieces around him to win, then the next thing you got to do is just hit full-on rebuild, which I think they're doing. But they still have some good young players. The one question I have would be the Jeremy Grant signing. They extended him for like 20 mil a year, and I think we all know, or most of us know, that Jeremy Grant is not a 20 mil a year player. He's a solid role player and he does his job, but 20 mil a year, and that was their only big signing, and that's a big reason why Dame wanted to go in the first place. But I don't know about that contract, and I don't think that's a movable contract because I don't think a lot of teams are going to want Jeremy Grant for 20 mil a year. We'll see, but who knows? Jeremy Grant could have an amazing year next year, and he could prove me wrong. But yeah. Anyway, while we're on the topic of the Blazers, let's just move on and talk about the Holiday deal as that factors into the Blazers offseason and their trades. So Drew Holiday goes to the Boston Celtics, and the Boston Celtics get rid of Williams, Brogdon, and 2 firsts to the Blazers. One thing to note is one pick was I think it was a pick swap worst, or it was a really bad pick that wasn't going to be valuable at all. It was going to be like late pick. Could have been protected as well. And then the other pick is the Celtics' first pick in 2029, which you never know what's going to happen in 2029. It's really far away. That could be really valuable or it could not be valuable, but I would just like to mention that one pick that they were giving up was not valuable. Williams and Brogdon, on the other hand, you can make arguments that are valuable or not valuable. If I'm taking this from the Celtics' perspective, I think this is an amazing trade for them, without a doubt, because they've really been missing a true point guard. Marcus Smart is a great player, and Derek White is a great player, but they're not true point guards. You have a true point guard coming in who's not only a great playmaker, but one of the best defenders in the league, which he's a better defender than Smart was. I'm sorry to say. He is a better defender. And he's a better playmaker. And he does a lot of great things for any organization he's a part of. The only downside is he is 33. But again, he had a great season last year. So one can hope or assume that he'll have a good season as well this year. And I think he fits in really well with the roster, as he's played with Giannis and some other dominant players before. I feel like he knows what he needs to do to benefit the team, and he's really good at doing that. And giving up Robert Williams, I understand it got me a little upset at first, and I'm not even like a Celtics fan, but it did get me upset at first because just like you drafted Robert Williams, you kind of have that like emotional connection to him a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's a good trade. Robert Williams just gets injured too much, and as you see, every time he gets injured, the Celtics really hurt, especially in the playoffs. They really need him to be healthy, and a player like Drew Holiday can come in and make a big difference, and you just haven't seen as much production as you can see from Robert Williams because of his injuries. When it comes to Malcolm Brogdon, I feel like you have enough guard depth, and he didn't do enough for you in the playoffs and at the end of the regular season, so I don't think that's a big loss. Especially when you have Drew Holiday in coming to I wouldn't want to say replace him because Drew Holiday is significantly better. He's more of replacing Smart, but really make a big impact at that position. And so I think for the Blazers, this is a good trade. You get Robert Williams, and you also have DeAndre Ayton before, and you're just trying to get younger players that have good potential, again, to rebuild. And you get 2 first. Again, one that's not that valuable, but one that may be valuable. So they essentially turn Damian Lillard into DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, and a couple first-round picks, which I think is pretty good value. Obviously, you can't replace Damian Lillard because he's such an impeccable talent in the league, but I think it is a really valuable and a good move for the Blazers. So if I had to give the Blazers a grade, I'd probably give them, again, like an A-. Celtics, I would have to give an A+ for how well Brad Stevens and their organization is doing with these moves. And when we're talking about the Celtics, we might as well move on to the Porzingis deal, which, again, another, I would say, blockbuster trade in the league. The Celtics land Porzingis, and they have to give up Marcus Smart. But again, now you have Drew Holiday, who fills Marcus Smart's role, and you have Porzingis, who is coming off his best statistical season of his entire career, and he was really healthy for the most part. A big concern with Kristaps Porzingis is that he gets injured a lot, but last year he had a relatively healthy season, and he played really well for the Wizards. And again, another thing the Celtics have been lacking is a center with height, number one. A lot of their centers are pretty undersized, but a center that not only can control the ball well, can shoot as well. Porzingis is a decent shooter, especially for the center position. He's a good shooter, and he can Obviously, with his like over 7 foot height, 7 foot over height, can be really dominant in the paint. His defensive capabilities aren't as good as Robert Williams. Robert Williams was a better defender, but undoubtedly Kristaps Porzingis is a better player, and this is going to help their team so much. When it comes to the loss of Marcus Smart, a lot of people have been talking about how Marcus Smart was the leader in the locker room and he needed to go because of that. I don't know if I believe that as much. I believe Marcus Smart was the leader of the team, and I don't really think the leader of the team has to be the best players in order for a team to win a championship. I kind of find that a little bit ridiculous, to be honest with you. But I think in the sense on the court, Marcus Smart was holding them back because, again, he's not a true point guard and he was playing point guard. And he's not that great from three-point land. He takes a little too much three-pointers, in my opinion. He is a great defender, although last year he didn't have as good as a defensive year. I wouldn't even say as close to what he had 2 years ago when he won the Defensive Player of the Year. But again, Marcus Smart is a loss for this team. But and now someone's going to have to step up in the locker room because he was a leader, but I'm not too worried about that. I think they have some quality leaders such as Drew Holiday coming in, and I think Tatum or Brown can take up the role pretty easily. So Celtics, I have to give an A+. I don't know. They just have an incredible offseason, without a doubt, and I don't think anyone can really argue that from any perspective. The only way they lose this trade or lose these trades if an injury happens or something, then Robert Williams turns into like the Defensive Player of the Year, and he's like insane, but I don't know if that's going to happen, especially with his injuries. Now we're going to talk about a team who made a couple huge free agent signings. One could argue championship free agent signings. Signing Dylan, no, I'm kidding, not Dylan. I'm just joking, but I am going to go over them. Dylan Brooks for a $20 million deal and Fred VanVleet for a $40 million deal. They both signed with the Houston Rockets. For the Rockets, this is just like salary, because for the NBA, when it comes to salary, you need to pay a certain amount without losing like cap and cap room. So they needed to get over that limit, and they did with Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. So Fred VanVleet especially, $40 million deal. I think everyone can argue that's an overpay, but again, it was just for salary compensation, and that's pretty much what it was. Do I think VanVleet and Dylan Brooks turn the Rockets into a playoff team? Not really, but I think they can come in and provide some good leadership, and Dylan Brooks can get everyone dancing in the locker room again coming out. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, it could provide a little bit of leadership role, which could help a little bit to the Rockets, especially because they're a younger team. Could help the younger players a little bit. I mean, Dylan Brooks did really look good in the Olympics. I don't know. Maybe it's his year. But no, I don't know. But again, leadership does help in the NBA, and I think that will help them. Another move that happened was John Collins to the Jazz. I'm just bringing this out because John Collins has been in trade rumors for the past 5 years. Seems like almost ever since he came into the league, he's been involved in trade rumors. That's been how long that is. But he finally got moved to the Jazz. They're just another good player that can play on the Jazz team and contribute. The Jazz is just composed of a bunch of role players that know their role, and they play well because of it. Last season, it was crazy. They didn't started off being the number one seed for a few weeks, and I mean, as the season goes along, they couldn't hold that up for that much longer. But Lauri Markkanen had a stellar season. Jordan Clarkson's a solid player, and they have good players around them where they can not compete for a championship, but I think they can get a play-in spot. And John Collins is just another person for this that can help them. What does this mean for the Hawks? That's another question to be asked. I don't really know what the Hawks' direction is in. They kind of remind me of the Wizards at this point. They're just competing for the sake of competing, but they're not a championship contender. But yeah. Anyway, talking about the Wizards, we might as well move on and talk about Jordan Poole and Christopher Emmanuel Paul moving teams. We can start off with the Warriors. So, as most people know, because this happened quite a while ago, Chris Paul was traded to the Golden State Warriors, and Jordan Poole was moved to the Wizards. When talking about the Warriors, I understand the Warriors are trying to compete now because they have a lot of older talent, but I don't get how CP3 is the right player to do that. Just primarily because CP3 last year didn't look as good as he did in previous years, and it seems like every year he's getting progressively worse. Just because age, is getting older. I think he's around 38 years old. And he's getting older and older. But this really minimizes your championship window because getting rid of one of your best young talents, Jordan Poole, means you really want to compete right now. And I'm interested to see because they're going to have Chris Paul probably bring up the ball, I would assume, and play Curry off ball. So I'm interested to see how that is going to work. And I heard recently, too, Steve Kerr, the coach of the Warriors, said he wants Klay playing the 4 on defense. So it's going to be really interesting seeing Klay cover the power forward. But they must just be... They're going to play small ball. I really don't know how this is going to work, though, because you just have a bunch of older talent. Chris Paul, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson. You just have a bunch of older players, and you're, again, minimizing your championship window. And, again, you got rid of Jordan Poole, who's one of your best young talents, along with Andrew Wiggins, who's still on the team. And Wiggins last season didn't look as good as the year before, so I'm a big Wiggs guy, so I'm hoping that he has a really good season and really steps up. But again, we're going to see for the Warriors. I don't think this is a good trade for them by any means, but it will be really interesting to play out, and it will be really fun to watch, with no doubt. When it comes to Jordan Poole to the Wizards, for the Wizards, I think this is a really good trade. And I think Jordan Poole is going to come in and help a lot. And I think this is really good for Jordan Poole's career, too, because it allows him to take a step up. I don't want to say he was in Curry's shadow, but the amount of minutes and the amount of looks and stuff was being limited because Stephen Curry was on the team. So now that he comes in on the Wizards and he's going to start, he's going to be the guard there, he can really come in and it kind of not be his team, but he can play a much more major role, and that's going to significantly help his development. So, I mean, I hope the best for him, and I think he's going to look really good in Washington. It already makes sense for the team and the team's scheme. Him and Kuzma are going to be those two guys, and they're going to be they're not going to be competing, but I think they're going to be have a really good year. So, yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the Suns, and just like the trades, is Bradley Beal to the Suns. This happened again a while ago, but I do want to talk about it. For the Suns, I was really questionable of the deal originally because they already had no depth, and I didn't know how it was going to work out. Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, again, none of them are really true point guards, but having them in the backcourt leaves you pretty significantly hurt on defense, as those two are not the best defensive guards in the world, and they're not great on the defense anyway. On offense, I mean, you can't go wrong. You have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, 3 of the best scorers in the whole league. That is going to be really, really, really hard to deal with the players on the defensive end. But again, we saw time and time again that the Suns were hit by depth. But after the DeAndre Ayton trade, it's really promising for the Suns, and especially Bradley Beal, who again wanted to leave Washington. He wanted to win a championship. He's chasing a ring. I respect it. And we'll see if they can get it. But that added depth in Bradley Beal, I think, is really going to help. The only question I would have is, I'm assuming Devin Booker will probably play point, but how much of an impact is it going to be on the Suns to not have a true point guard? As we saw in the Celtics, it did impact them a little bit, not having a true point guard. I don't know if that's going to be the same for the Suns. Booker did play a little point last season. He looked honestly pretty good when he was playing it. So I don't think it should be too much of an issue, especially with the star talent you have on the team. But yeah, Suns are definitely contenders, and I think it's going to go really well. And that about wraps it up for the NBA season trades. If you want to let me know down in the comments what do you think the best trade was for what team, or anything you disagree with me on, just let me know. I'll be really happy and excited to see either how much you disagree with me or how much you agree with me. So yeah, moving on, I want to talk about the Lakers. The Lakers are my favorite team, so I'm just going to do a segment on them. And I think they had an incredibly good off season. I really want to highlight what happened. A lot of people look at signings and stuff, but I'm really focused on their one. They have a couple of good signings, but their extensions are really well too. For instance, D'Angelo Russell signed a 2-year, $18 million a year deal. Austin Reeves with a 4-year, $14 million a year deal. I think both of these are steals and a half. I don't know about the D'Lo contract because he didn't look too good in the playoffs. But again, he's a really good quality player, and he looked good during the regular season. And $18 million a year for 2 years isn't that bad. I think he might have a player option as well. That's not like a steal and a half, I would say, but it's a decent contract for D'Angelo Russell. When it comes to Austin Reeves, this contract undoubtedly is a steal. I think Austin Reeves has the potential to be a star in this league, especially after seeing him on the Olympics. He was getting more minutes than Tyrese Halliburton in some of the games. Tyrese Halliburton's already an all-star in the Pacers. If people watching don't know, but $14 million a year for 4 years. I mean, come on now. Austin Reeves was putting the team on his back in the playoffs. They were running their offense through him. I believe it was the Grizzlies or Warriors series, one of the two. I think it might have been the Grizzlies series. They were running their offense through him, and he was looking incredible. And again, it looks like he's taken a step up over the overseas for the Olympics, which is really promising as well. So that's the steal. Then they got Rui Hachimura, a 3-year, $17 million deal. Another great deal in my opinion. Rui, again, everyone, when the trade happened, everyone was like, well, I mean, Rui Hachimura is going to contribute, but it's not going to make this team a championship contender. Well, I may have agreed with them at the time, but after seeing what happened, I disagree completely. Rui Hachimura was averaging like 20 plus points for the first few games of the playoffs. He was carrying his team every single time he came in. He was such a big impact, and it's not like he was just catching and shooting. He was making moves. He was creating his own shots, and he looked really, really good. And this is our new acquisition, Gabe Vincent. We got on a 3-year, $11 million deal, which is another steal. He's such a quality point guard. And he'll be the backup to D'Angelo Russell most likely, but he's such a quality point guard, probably the best or one of the best backups in the league. I won't say the best, but one of the best backups in the league. He's looked so good on the Miami Heat, and it seems like he obviously he's off and on sometimes, but when he's on, he's on. He's really effective, can shoot the three, create his own shot, and he's a great playmaker. So I'm really optimistic about him, and I'm really excited to see how he contributes to this Laker team. And I mean, the more playmakers, the better, honestly. LeBron's a playmaker, he playmakes for people, but if you can move the ball around on this team, it's really scary. Another contract extension, another signing was Christian Wood. It wasn't a contract extension, sorry, it was a signing. Christian Wood on a 2-year for a $7 million a year deal, which is incredible. Christian Wood is one of the best backup centers in the league, I would argue. Right now, he can shoot a little bit, can do a little bit of everything. Again, he's not a superstar, but he's a solid role player, and $7 million a year is really good for Christian Wood. And all these players, I mean, we have them locked up for several years, so I think we should be contenders for quite a while. I mean, you have different different types of skills for all the players on our team, and it's really, really promising to see this happen. The only little critique I would have is our defense at our guard position, as Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, and Gabe Vincent aren't the best defenders in the world. But I think we make up for that with Jared Vanderbilt, who's one of the best defenders in the league. If you don't know, Jared Vanderbilt can cover 1 through 4. He was covering Ja Morant for the Grizzlies series for most of the time, and every time he was on him, it seemed like Ja couldn't do anything, especially when it wasn't fast break. And Vando really, really shut him down. And can guard 1 through 4, obviously very versatile player. And Anthony Davis is one of the best defenders in the league when healthy. He did just get a $62 million a year extension, which is kind of crazy, and I think it's an overpay for honestly any player in the league. I don't know if anyone's worth that amount of value, but I mean, it's what you had to do to get Anthony Davis back, and Anthony Davis is a great player, and like I said, we just need him to be healthy. When he's healthy, he's a top 5 player in the league, in my opinion. When he's healthy, he's that good. And like I said before, we've secured good young players, or some young players, somewhere on the older side, for the next few years. And this is our window. This is where we compete. We looked so good in the playoffs last year. Now is when our team, they had the second half of the season to gel, but they didn't have a full off season, a full anything to gel. So now they're gelling, learning together, and I think it's going to be a really positive season. And a big caveat with the Lakers early in the season was they had no depth, and obviously they made trades to help that depth, but now they have even more depth with Gabe Vincent and other players. So I'm really, really optimistic on their season. I think they're going to do really well. And I'm really excited to see the new players in their jerseys and stuff. I'm really excited how Gabe Vincent and Christian Wood are going to play with this team, and I'm just excited to see what happens. Again, you didn't see the Lakers in a lot of trade deals or anything, but you did see them re-sign some players, and I think it was a really positive impact on the team, and I think it's going to be, again, like I said before, a really exciting season to watch. So our next topic is going to be my favorites, who I think is going to win the championship. I know this is early, and again, trades happen during the season, players and injuries happen, stuff happens, which can, again, hurt this list. But I'm just going to go through these, and hopefully Most people agree. I think my favorites to win are pretty uncontroversial, and a lot of people agree with them, but we'll see. So one of the teams I think is going to win is the Lakers. It could just be me being like an optimistic fan, but I do believe they're a solid contender with their added depth and just the star power they have. I mean, LeBron James, Anthony Davis are two great players, but you're going to see, I think, Austin Reeves have a huge improvement this season. D'Angelo Russell's a solid player, and again, they have so much versatility on the defensive and offensive end. I think it's really, really, really impressive. The second team we already talked about, but the Suns with added depth. I mean, the depth is crucial. They need more depth, and they got more depth. And they have a solid scorer in Beal, who they added, like I talked about before. They're going to be almost impossible to guard on the defensive end with the three scorers they have. Durant, who's a killer in the mid-range and from three. You have Booker, who's killing the mid-range, and Beal that can score like anywhere. It's just going to be unstoppable. The only downside is their defense, as I talked about before, but I feel like they can outscore anyone at this point with the talent they have. So, yeah, we'll see. The Bucks, again, the Lillard factor. You have someone who can close out games and score really, really effectively. And again, Giannis and Lillard, I think, are going to work so well together. So well. I can't even stress it enough. Fast breaks and stuff, it's about to be crazy. Again, the one caveat with the Bucks is they don't have a lot of depth. But again, it's just a question of will your star power make up for that depth or will it not? There's been teams where the star power has made up for it and teams where it hasn't. So we'll see. I mean, they have Brook Lopez as well, who got second in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year, and Bobby Portis, a fan favorite, who, again, is a great role player. But besides that, you got like Pat Connaughton and some other players, but you don't have a lot of depth at all. But again, I'm hoping. I'm excited to see Dame. I mean, I saw him in the Bucks jersey. It looks really weird, and I can't lie. It looks really, really weird. Keeping that number 0, but in green. Yeah, it's very odd, but I think he's going to fit in really well there. The other team I have is the Celtics, again, just because pure talent. 1 through 6, no other team can compete with that in the whole league. 1 through 6 talent is better than any other team in the league. And Holiday is a true point guard, like I said before, which they desperately need. And, again, a lockdown defender. And the last team, I just can't count them out. The Nuggets, they won last season. Jokic, in my opinion, is the best player in the league because he's just unstoppable. I thought he was kind of overrated, I'm not going to lie. And then I saw him destroy my Lakers and pick them apart every single game. And then I really saw what Nikola Jokic truly is, which is he's quite literally a point guard center, as everyone always says. And he's dominant in the paint, but then he just makes the right pass every single time. It's crazy. Like, every single decision he makes, it seems like it's always right. I just don't get it. Like, I haven't seen a player in the league as dominant as Nikola Jokic when it comes to scoring and passing. It's honestly very, very remarkable. And I might throw in one other team. I'll just throw in one other team. I don't really believe they are gonna win a championship, but my dad does, so I'll just throw it in. The Cleveland Cavaliers. I think he thinks that because they have solid like Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert. Like, they have solid depth too, and they have solid players. But we saw last year that they didn't. They started off really well, and then it kind of just like fizzled off. I think it's all gonna depend on Garland and Mobley. Donovan Mitchell's going to be good. Garland kind of took a step back a little last year, I feel like, and he wasn't as dominant as he was when Mitchell wasn't on the team. So I think in the passing game, at least, he has to be really dominant again and scoring. When it comes to Mobley, he needs to take a big step up, at least on the offensive end. He's one of the best defenders in the league. And he's already incredible on that end, but he needs to be a little bit better on his mid-range game and scoring under the basket. And you need your role players like Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro, those people to step up. And I think I don't know. I might be a little too optimistic today, but I think the Cavs, maybe not a championship contender, but I think they're going to have a solid season next year. And now, on the more negative end, we're going to talk about the teams who I think are not going to be good next season. And, not going to be that great, and probably not going to make a play-in spot if that. First team I have on here is the Hornets. We had LaMelo sign a big extension, and they did sign Miles Bridges again. The problem is they have no center depth still. I believe Mason Plumlee, their starting center, isn't even on the team anymore. They don't have center depth, and I don't think Bridges will make a big difference. He was good when he played. It still didn't really help them that much, and they weren't a good team. And I don't think Bridges is going to be the factor of bringing this team from a horrible team to like playoff contention. I don't even think they'll make the plan again, to be honest with you. I bet a lot of people think they will make the plan, but I'm too not optimistic about that team. The other team I have are the Magic. They're still young. I know they have a lot of good young talent, but I don't think they have enough star power. I know they got one of the Thompson twins who can develop really well, but I just don't think they have the star power, and I don't think their younger players are going to take that next step yet into pushing them to like play-in contention. They're a really fun team to watch, and they have a lot of really good players, or role players at least, but I don't think they're going to take that next step. And this might be a controversial one, and I think people might get mad at me for this, but I have the Spurs. I don't think they're going to do that well either. I'm not saying Wembanyama is going to do good. I think Wembanyama is going to do good, but I don't think he's good enough to elevate the team in the first year to like playoff contention or like play-in contention. That's probably a hot take, but just the people surrounding him are not good enough in order for them to make that push. You have Keldon Johnson, who's kind of stayed stagnant a little bit. You do have forget his name, I apologize, but the point guard there, that's pretty young, that did really well last year on the defensive end and was kind of like an underdog and got picked late and has done really well. So that's really promising as well. But again, promising isn't talent right away, and I don't think they're gonna make the play-in or the playoffs. The other team I have is the Wizards. I think Poole and Kuzma are going to have really excellent years and have really good statistical seasons, but I don't think they have enough talent in order to make that push. It seems like every year the Wizards are just trying to compete, but and make like play-in every single year or like around that area, and it seems like they're kind of trying to rebuild a little bit with Jordan Poole and Kuz as their two stars and trying to get young talent, which I think is a smart decision, and they finally hit that rebuild button. And I think it will benefit in the long run, just not this season. And another one that might be a little bit controversial, I don't even think it's going to be that controversial, but I apologize to Kenny, KOT4Q, but the Bulls, I think they had one of the worst off seasons because they really just did nothing the whole off season. They extended like a couple players and that was it. They did like absolutely nothing. And it's not like they have like a ton of young talent like their two stars, Zach LaVine, or the three players, I should say, two players, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are just getting older. Zach LaVine's still a really solid player, and I think he's like 29 or 30. He's like getting older now, and DeMar DeRozan is like in his 30s now. I don't think they're going to get any better, and I think the Bulls really need to go into like a rebuilding stage right now, or at least get rid of DeMar, Zach LaVine for other talent, because it's just not working right now, as you saw last season. And I think they need to reset or do something that's going to push them to the next step. I wouldn't say the next level. I don't know if you're going to get a good enough star power in order to push you to a championship team, but the next step in order to make the Bulls more of a contender than they are now. I don't know how Bulls fans are feeling, because I feel like if I was a Bulls fan, I would be pretty disappointed because, again, my front office didn't really do anything in free agency. They were rumored in some stuff, but didn't really do anything. Again, Lonzo Ball is another topic. He's now going to be out for another season. He's missed like 3 seasons now with this knee injury that he's had multiple surgeries on. It's really sad to see because it seemed like he was doing really well with the Bulls. Really, really well, actually. And it was a reason why they were like playoff contenders and whatnot and doing really well. And then he just went down with an injury. And he's pretty confident he's going to come back. I really hope so. And I really hope he's effective. He is only like 26. We're not talking about like a 35-year-old knee injury. So I'm hoping he can come back and contribute. I never want to see anyone go down with injuries, and it's really sad. So I'm hoping for the best of his career. And I still think he has some good years to come, and I wish the best to Bulls fans. Again, I would be pretty upset if I was in your position. You never know. Maybe they make a move before the trade deadline or something. That's exciting. So, yeah. The last segment I want to talk about is the teams that may shock us. And I'll just go through this list. These are teams where I'm not saying they're going to win a championship, but I think they're going to do better than people think they're going to do. The number one team I have on this list is the Minnesota Timberwolves. primarily because I think Anthony Edwards has taken that next step and he's going to have a huge breakout and massive year this year. In the Olympics, he looked amazing. He was the leader of the team and he was the go-to guy if you needed someone to get a bucket. And I think that trend is going to continue over to the NBA, and he's going to be really successful. He was already successful last year. He's a star, but I wouldn't call him a superstar. I think this year is where he really elevates into a superstar and really shows the NBA that he's that guy. And I think the Timberwolves are definitely going to benefit from that. I think that means a play-in spot, maybe like at best a 6 seed. But I'm not saying they're going to win a championship by any means, but I'm saying that the organization is definitely going to benefit from his potential and his improvement. Another team I'm going to talk about is the Grizzlies. I think may shock us, and that's primarily because Ja Morant is, as people know, I'm not going to get into the details, but has been suspended for the first 25 games of the season. And a lot of people think this is going to really impact the Grizzlies. And I'm going to counter that and say, of course it's going to impact them, but I don't think it's going to impact them too negatively. We saw last year a similar thing happen where Ja was out for a span of time. The Grizzlies looked really good, and they won a lot of games, surprisingly. I think their coach, Taylor Jenkins, is a really good coach. And they got Marcus Smart, and they got a few other pieces. I feel like they're going to be really dominant on defense with Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., and they're going to have other people step up like Desmond Bane in those first 25 games. Again, they have pretty good depth, and I don't see a huge issue. I'm not saying they're going to go 25-0, but I think they're still going to contend with other teams, and I think they're going to be solid. And when Ja comes back, I think that might just add the fuel to the fire. When Ja comes back, they still have a good record, and they're still doing well. As I predict, Ja coming back will have a really good and positive significance on the team as long as he, doesn't do anything stupid again and is still a good basketball player, which I think undoubtedly, of course, he's a good basketball player. And it's not like he's not practicing. He's still practicing with the team, and he's allowed to practice. He's just not allowed to participate in any games. But again, I'm really high on the Grizzlies, and I think they're going to do really well. Another team I have is the Trailblazers. I feel like a lot of people coming into this think they're going to be like one of the worst teams in the league. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to be a borderline play-in team, but I think they're going to surprise some people because I think Scoot is going to be really good. Obviously, second overall pick, you expect him to be good, but I really think he's going to step into that point guard role and be really effective. And I think obviously the Jrue Holiday trade was really good because Jrue Holiday is a dominant talent in the league, but again, he is aging and you're focusing on a rebuild. So now you have Scoot and Anthony Simons, who are two promising young talents taking up those guard positions. And you have Robert Williams and DeAndre Ayton, who are also young and two really good centers. I don't know how they're going to do this. I don't know if they're going to play one of them at the 4 and one of them at the 5. I doubt it, but I mean, you never know. You can do anything in the NBA. Not anything, but a lot of things happen that people didn't think would. So, again, you could just have Robert Williams coming off the bench as well. But, again, looks like Anthony Simons at the 2, Scoot at the 1. You have Jeremy Grant probably playing the 3. And the 4 and the 5 spots probably going to still be determined by those two players. But I think it's going to be a really fun team to watch, and it's going to be really fun to watch Scoot's progression over the season. And, really fun team to watch. The last team I got is the OKC Thunder, and I think it's time for them to start to compete. I think Shea is going to have, he's already a really dominant, great player in the league, but I think he's going to have another great year, and the Thunder are going to do really well because of it. And I think Chet Holmgren obviously got injured before the season started last year. I haven't been high on Chet Holmgren before the draft happened. I didn't think he was good, as in March Madness I saw him play, and he looked pretty stagnant and out there on the court. And I think that doesn't mean he's not going to contribute to this team, and I think he still has high potential and he can be really effective in the league. And but I just don't think he's going to be a superstar in this league. That's just a personal opinion of mine, but he's still going to contribute. And you have great young pieces as well as Josh Giddey, J-Dub, J-Will, a lot of people that can just improve every single year. And I think this is the year where they really take that step and become more dominant than they were last year. Last year they were playing, I believe, and this year I think they're going to be 7-8 seed maybe. Like, I'm really, really, really confident in this team. Yeah, I want, and let me know teams that may shock you if I miss someone, or like a team that you think disagree with that's going to be bad next year. Maybe you think the Spurs, Wemby is going to be like the new LeBron and stuff, and elevate them to play in contention or something. Just let me know in the comments, and I'm really excited to see everything or whatever everyone posts. But yeah, anyway, that kind of wraps it up for everything I have. Once again, I really appreciate everyone for watching. It means a lot. It's a really joy to make these, and I really have a lot of fun. And it's always a highlight of my week making these podcast episodes. So I'm not gonna ask for likes, subscribes, whatever. I just want to thank you for watching. And yeah, just so everyone knows, I make shorts as well. That's what I've been doing off and on for a little bit. Make shorts like for NBA, NFL. I've done, mostly NBA. And I've done a few couple of superhero stuff as well, which is yeah, I'm really excited about. So if you want, no pressure, you don't have to go check those out. But yeah, thank you for watching and thank you for following the channel. Really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.